Today I'm looking at something a little bit different for this channel. Papercraft buildings for BattleTech. I talked about this in my previous video. I was building a lot of this papercraft terrain for 5 Parsecs from home, and as I was doing it I started thinking, hey, does something like this actually exist for BattleTech as well? And it does turn out that it does. Of course, you can always build just about any like buildings for Alpha Strike, which is, it's a miniature game, but is there something for Classic BattleTech that would work with hex maps? And unfortunately the answer was yes, but not a lot. What I did find was this Just Paper Battles modular apartment buildings. They do have a couple of other kits, some pretty cool looking like industrial buildings as well. And here the point is they are actually hex shaped and hex sized as well. So you can put it on your hex map and have your mech stand on top of them. This one I had printed out at a copy shop on very nice heavy duty cardboard, but I did also try to see what happens if you print some of these stuff out on just normal office paper. It's the biggest building they have and it's perfectly sturdy. These apartment buildings cost about $9 on Wargame World, which is quite steep for papercraft terrain, considering there's a lot more affordable and honestly a bit nicer looking buildings out there for a lot cheaper. But anyway, when you do buy it, you get a couple of PDFs where you can choose if you want to print them out on US letter size or A4, which I'm doing. And you also get the fun ability to change the textures a little bit if you have like an Adobe Reader. This is the basic texture that's enabled by default. The buildings consist of 2 different parts. As you can see, this is the outer part, the wall part, and this is the other part. So you got the roof and the base for the building, and you cut them out. You cut all of these little bits here out, you fold it, and then you glue it and fold it, and then you slot it into itself, and then you get the finished building. There is one very big problem with this kit, and its size. This is the smallest building in the set, and I built this a little bit different, and I'll talk about it later on, and it's about 1.5 inches. This is the tallest building in the set, and it's about 3.5 inches in size. So this is a bit of a problem. I would say like the commonly accepted size for BattleTech levels is 1 inch per level, and the buildings inside this set are not consistent. They're all different lengths, and they're not consistently long compared to each other. So you got the smallest one is 1.5. There's like a 2-inch one. There's a 3-inch one. It doesn't really make sense, and it's not going to work perfectly in your Classic BattleTech games. I think this is a huge oversight on the designer's part, but you can make it a little bit better. I was thinking I would make these 2 into level 1 buildings. I was just measuring, and this seems to be 1 inch, so I guess I'll just cut this building off at this point, so you got 1 story or 2 stories, and I'll do the same here. And for these buildings I'll do 2 levels, and that'll be around this tall for each. And then you can always just put the buildings on top of each other if you want bigger buildings, I guess. So that's one solution that I'll be using. Let me build this up and I'll show you how this stuff works. And here we are about an hour later with some finished buildings. Now they're all nice and consistent in size, as I talked about. If we compare with the Griffin here, the level 1 buildings are about half a mech, and behind them you don't see the mech at all. And also what I think is important, 2 level 1s are about the same as a level 2 building. Just a minor adjustment really. As I showed, I cut just around here, and that made for about an inch, just a little bit more than an inch, but it works pretty well. Something I did notice here is that maybe just stacking these things on top of each other isn't actually the greatest idea. It is a little bit, ooh, I don't know, it does. I wouldn't maybe trust this too much on the battlefield. I would probably use double-sided tape to tape these together, or maybe I would have like a base for the buildings and then use double-sided tape to tape them on that. The pack does actually come with this page that has like these different shaped bases for like big apartment blocks. Another page too. I didn't print these out because I figured I wouldn't need them. You also get like this payment type of thing, which is pretty nice, but now I do notice that maybe I actually should have printed these out and made some bigger building blocks, because maybe the individual towers aren't that nice actually. So there you have it, just Paper Battle's modular apartment buildings, one of in a range of different papercraft buildings for BattleTech and other 6mm games, I guess. Again, a little bit disappointed by the fact that the heights of these buildings aren't really consistent, and I had to modify them to work with like actual Classic BattleTech, but still a nice kit. I would say the price is quite high compared to a lot of papercraft terrain, but then again, $9 and then the cost of paper or cardboard, you're going to be able to make a lot of very cheap terrain indefinitely, and they do also include options. Now, one thing that this made me think about, this little experiment, I will probably print out more of these buildings and build like a little city so I can have city battles. But something I started thinking, I noticed a distinct lack of papercraft hex hills for BattleTech, and that's something I would actually really like to see, because again, I don't really love terrain. I don't like having to store a lot of it in big boxes and stuff, and it weighs a lot and painting it and everything. But if I could just build like paper hex hills, like level 1, level 2, level 3 hills, and put them on the table, because BattleTech is nicer with 3D terrain, even Classic BattleTech, I would definitely love to do that. And I was thinking, maybe I will actually do that. So maybe in the future, maybe. I'm no Photoshop guy or anything. I can do something, but I'm no genius. But maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to get my hills. That's something to think about. Might have to try making my own papercraft BattleTech hex hills for the future. We'll see. Anyway, that's pretty much the video for this time. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.